Welcome to Quick Recaps, the podcast where we dive into the most thrilling tales from the world of cinema. Today, we unravel a spine-tingling narrative that has haunted audiences for generations. Join us as we journey into the eerie world of The Exorcist. In this classic horror story, we'll explore the convergence of ancient evil and modern life, the battle between faith and doubt, and the ultimate sacrifice that would change lives forever. So sit back and get ready for a rapid recap of one of the most iconic horror films ever made. This is The Exorcist. In the ancient land of Iraq, Father Lancaster Marin, an elderly Catholic priest, found himself embroiled in an archaeological dig of epic proportions. Marin, a man of faith, was often troubled by a deep sense of foreboding, as if a shadow loomed over his very existence. As he excavated the ruins, he encountered a series of eerie omens that sent chills down his spine. One fateful day, as the scorching desert sun bore down upon him, Marin Spade unearthed a statue unlike any he had ever seen. This grotesque figure, a representation of the demonic entity Pazuzu, sent shivers through Marin's soul. With its twisted features and malevolent presence, the statue hinted at a dark and ancient evil. Meanwhile, half a world away in the upscale Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C., a successful actress named Chris McNeil led a seemingly charmed life. Chris lived with her bright and inquisitive 12-year-old daughter Regan, her personal assistant Sharon, and two diligent housekeepers. Her estranged husband remained a mysterious figure in the background, his reasons for distancing himself unknown. As Chris navigated her bustling career, strange and inexplicable phenomena began to plague her home. Mysterious sounds emanated from the attic, a problem she attributed to rats. Regan, once a cheerful and carefree child, started to exhibit distressing behavioral changes. She fell into a deep, unexplained depression and anxiety that worried her mother. One night, Regan appeared in Chris's bed trembling and declared that her own bed was shaking. While filming a movie in Georgetown, Chris noticed a young Catholic priest observing her work with an intense gaze. His name was Damien Carras, a man who, despite his devout calling, grappled with a crisis of faith. Carras possessed a background in psychology and counseled parishioners at a nearby church. Chris frequently encountered him on her way home from shoots. Father Carras, a thoughtful and conflicted soul, wrestled with his inner demons and the guilt of leaving his elderly mother to live in poverty in a New York slum. His mother's bleak existence weighed heavily on his conscience. Back in the McNeil household, the strange occurrences escalated. Regan revealed that she had been toying with a Ouija board, claiming to communicate with a malevolent, spiritual entity. Nearby, a Catholic church was desecrated, its sacred statue crudely vandalized. Regan, too, delved into the world of clay and paint, crafting eerie animal sculptures. Tragedy struck when Father Carras's mother fell seriously ill, leaving her in a decrepit hospital ward filled with mentally disturbed patients. Carras's grief was compounded by his mother's blame, which she laid upon him for her dire situation. Soon she passed away in those bleak surroundings. During a lavish party at her home, Chris entertained a host of affluent guests. Among them was Father Dyer, another Jesuit, who spoke of his friendship with Carras. The atmosphere was lively, and Regan appeared joyful and sociable. However, after the guests departed, a shocking incident transpired. Regan, seemingly possessed, urinated on the carpet in front of the prominent astronaut among the guests and ominously predicted his death up there. Desperate and bewildered, Chris cleaned up the mess and put Regan to bed, but a terrifying noise erupted from her room. Rushing to investigate, Chris found Regan's bed shaking violently, rising off the floor with the terrified girl still on it. Chris subjected Regan to a battery of medical tests, but the doctors could find no physical explanation for her strange condition. Despite grueling and painful procedures, they could only speculate that Regan might have a brain lesion, yet even brain scans yielded no results. One fateful evening as Chris left the house, she returned to a chilling scene. The home was deserted except for Regan, who was alone in her bedroom in a deep sleep. The room was freezing cold, the window wide open, and Regan was uncovered. Sharon soon returned, explaining that she had left Regan in the care of Burke, who was visiting, while she went to the pharmacy. Burke's mysterious absence was clarified when an associate of Chris's informed her that Burke had died on her doorstep. Father Carras was summoned by a detective named Lieutenant Kinderman, who believed Burke's death was connected to the desecration of the church. Burke's body was found with his head twisted unnaturally, and the police suspected foul play. With medical tests yielding no answers, The doctors reluctantly broached the idea of demonic possession and exorcism as a last resort. Chris was skeptical but desperate, lacking any religious affiliation of her own. While attempting to engage a psychiatrist, Chris witnessed a disturbing incident involving Regan, who violently assaulted herself with a crucifix, speaking in a deep, malevolent voice. The situation spiraled out of control, with furniture moving on its own and Regan's head twisting backward, her voice now resembling that of Burke. In a last-ditch effort, Chris sought the aid of Father Karras, who was initially dismissive of the notion of exorcism. After witnessing Regan's horrifying condition, Karras recorded their conversation, during which she reacted violently to supposed holy water. Convinced of the need for an exorcism, Karras agreed to fight for it, though he had more in common with skeptical doctors than with the devout. The church called in Father Marin, a priest with experience in exorcisms, to lead the ritual, with Karras offering assistance. When they entered Regan's bedroom, she unleashed a torrent of obscenities and vile curses. Marin and Karras began the exorcism, but the possessed Regan exhibited supernatural phenomena, including levitation, telekinesis, and a grotesque transformation. The battle against the malevolent presence raged on. During the exorcism, Regan briefly recognized Marin, taunting him with strange animalistic sounds. As they struggled to banish the demon, Marin fell victim to a fatal heart attack. Left alone with the possessed child, Karras realized that the only way to save her was to offer himself as a vessel for the demon. As he took on the malevolent spirit, he found himself teetering on the brink of sanity. In an act of ultimate sacrifice, Karras hurled himself from Regan's window, ending his own life to break the curse that had plagued the child. He tumbled down the stairs outside the house, mortally wounded. By chance, Father Dyer discovered the dying Karras and administered the last rites, releasing his friend from the demon's grasp. In a poignant epilogue, Chris and Regan prepared to leave the house in Georgetown. They were visited by Father Dyer, and in a private moment, Chris confided in him about the traumatic events they had endured. Regan, seemingly oblivious to the horrors she had been through, greeted Father Dyer cheerfully. As they departed, Regan unexpectedly hugged and kissed Father Dyer, a symbol of their shared ordeal. In a touching gesture, Chris handed Father Dyer a religious medallion that once belonged to Father Karras. Father Dyer watched them leave, standing atop the stone steps, forever changed by the harrowing battle they had faced. Thanks for tuning in to quick recaps for our whirlwind journey through The Exorcist. If you enjoyed this rapid recap, be sure to subscribe and share our podcast for more cinematic adventures. Until next time, happy listening and stay tuned for more thrilling stories.